How did a simple online bookstore become, well, everything? Turns out their secret weapon is something every other company on the planet tries to avoid like the plague.
So, what if the one thing that keeps CEOs up at night was actually the key to winning? And I'm not talking about, small slip-ups or minor course corrections.
No, we're talking about massive failures, the kind that make front-page news and cost a fortune. And these weren't mistakes that got swept under the rug. Nope, these were public faceplants, happening right out in the open for everyone to see.
For most companies, just one of these would be a death sentence. Lights out. Game over.
But here's the wild part. Amazon didn't just tolerate these failures. They built a system to create them. They built an entire empire on them.
And stick with me because there was one decision in particular that looked like the ultimate failure. A move so risky it could have sunk the whole ship, but it secretly changed the internet as we know it. We're going to circle back to that big reveal.
All right, so to really get this, we got to go back, way back to 1994. You've got this guy, Jeff Bezos, with a super comfy, high-paying job on Wall Street. Life is good, right? But then he sees one number that just flips a switch in his brain.
He saw that internet usage was growing by 2,300% a year. That's insane. You just don't see numbers like that. So it got him thinking, what's a business you could build that would be impossible without the internet? His big idea? Books. So he does the crazy thing, quits the cushy job, starts Amazon out of a garage. But here's the key part. Right from the get-go, he told his first investors, hey, just so you know, there's a really good chance this whole thing blows up and you lose all your money. Okay, fast forward to the late 90s. Amazon is growing like a weed. But, and this is a big but, it's also hemorrhaging money. Any normal company would be freaking out, not Bezos.
See, his whole philosophy was to ignore profits. Instead, every single penny went back into making the customer experience better. We're talking lower prices, faster delivery, and a massive selection. The end game wasn't profit today, it was about owning the market tomorrow.
And Wall Street? Oh, they hated it. By '99, the company was just burning through cash, and everyone on the outside was calling it a house of cards. They even had a nickname for it, Amazon.bomb. And then, boom, the dot-com bubble bursts. Internet companies are just disappearing left and right. Amazon stock, it craters, down over 90%. Everyone thought, well, that's it. It was a nice try. But they were dead wrong.
Because on the inside, something really interesting was happening. A culture was being forged in that fire. One that didn't just survive a crisis, it actually fed on it.
And this quote from Bezos really says it all. For him, if you weren't failing, you weren't trying hard enough. You weren't swinging for the fences. So at Amazon, failure wasn't something to be ashamed of. It was something to be studied.
Okay, let me give you the perfect example of this. Remember the Amazon Fire Phone? Yeah, probably not. It came out in 2014, was supposed to be the next big thing, and it was a spectacular dud. A total flop. And we're talking a huge financial hit. They had to write off something like $170 million in phones they couldn't sell. In any other company, people would have been fired. But at Amazon, the conversation was different. Because, you see, all the work, all the tech, all the people who worked on that failed phone, they didn't get scrapped. They got repurposed. And they became the foundation for something else you might have heard of, Alexa and the Echo. That spectacular failure literally gave birth to a multi-billion-dollar success. All right, so while we were all watching them sell books and fail at making phones, the real story was happening in the background. And this brings us back to that massive, company-risking decision I mentioned at the top. Back in the early 2000s, Amazon had a big problem. Their website was constantly crashing. So their engineers got to work and built some amazing internal tools to fix it. And then somebody had this crazy thought. Hey, what if we rented this stuff out to other companies? That idea became Amazon Web Services, or AWS.
Now you have to understand what a massive risk this was. It was going to cost a fortune, and it had nothing to do with selling stuff online. It was a total distraction. Even people high up inside Amazon were saying, this is a terrible idea, this could bankrupt us.
But Bezos just pushed and pushed. He believed that the really big wins often look like failures at the start. And, yeah, that so-called mistake, it turned out to be the best decision they ever made, period. Just look at this. For years, AWS was a profit machine. It literally made more money than the entire Amazon retail business combined. It became the cash engine that paid for everything else. All the experiments, all the failures, all of it.
But it's even bigger than that. AWS changed the world. Before AWS, if you had a startup idea, you needed millions just for servers. After AWS, you could launch a company from your laptop. That one bad idea from Amazon basically created the entire modern tech startup scene.
And that's really the big takeaway here. It's what we're calling the Amazon rule. Most companies see failure as the enemy. Amazon sees it as a necessary ingredient. They know that if you experiment enough, one single home run will more than pay for all the strikeouts.
That's the playbook. That's why Amazon is always jumping into new things, whether it's healthcare or AI or logistics. So the question I'll leave you with is, who's next? What company out there gets this rule and is going to use it to build the next trillion-dollar empire? What do you think?